Hello, I'm Bruce Falk, and I will be your teacher. I taught audition technique at NYU Tisch School of the Arts for over 10 years with students like Rachel Brosnahan, who won the Emmy for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I'm also a graduate of Carnegie Mellon with a degree in acting myself, and I've acted on Broadway, off Broadway for over 20 years, along with shows like Blue Bloods, The Sopranos, Law and Order, all of them, and many others. I've also had a career in commercials for over 20 years. In this series of videos, we will go over pretty much everything I taught at NYU Tisch School of the Arts. These videos will give you an excellent foundation in how to be a working actor. There's a difference between an actor who wants a job and an actor who has a career and is working. This series of videos is broken into 3 different parts. First, the work, monologues, scenes, how to work on them, where to find them, landing that first line, how to record yourself and do an audition from home. Second, the business of the business and networking. There are a lot of different agents out there. How do you target the ones that are right for you, get in touch with them, and get them to call you in? There's really 3 things you can do. IMDb Pro and why you need to pay for it, Actors Access, SAG-AFTRA and equity. How do you join the unions? When should you join the union? We'll talk about the 4 hours a week you need to spend on your career. It's just 4 hours a week. Really, it's only 4 hours a week. There's 4 very specific things to do. And finally, we'll work on commercials. Commercials are important not only because they're different than legit work, but also because they can pay the bills. Isn't it better to work in commercials than to walk dogs or take care of kids or bartend or whatever else? Oh, my years of catering. Commercials are better. And finally, I'm going to provide you with a lot of material in this course. Monologues, scenes, the networking spreadsheet, the first chapter of my book, and so many things that will be valuable to you in your ongoing career as a working actor. I look forward to working with you. I really liked what you did on Instagram, right? I like the way you set it up. And also because you're a young African-American woman actor from Atlanta and who studied at the New School. And I went to Carnegie Mellon. I taught a lot of students from NYU and a few other schools, Caroline among them, of course. But I don't know much about the New School, so I wanted to hear how your experience is as a Black young actress in New York these days, coming out of the New School, and talk to you more about the business today.
Oh yeah. That's it's a lot. It's a
Here
lot.
we are. Here we are.
Here we are.
So why don't we jump right in, and why don't you give everybody, rather than me sort of listing off everything you've done and how wonderful you are, why don't you tell people what you've been doing with Hamlet and all the other things that you've done recently?
Absolutely. Well, I just finished up the Women Theaters Festival's production of Othello, which
Yep.
was virtual, all-female, queer, Black female-led production. So that was incredible. We did 5 performances, and then I think it was 3 nights of virtual recordings, which is really cool. I got to play Amelia, which is a dream role of mine. Such a complicated woman she is. So that's
You and your strawberries. How'd you do the strawberry handkerchief?
So do I have it over here? Actually, I'm still in my setup for
Yeah.
virtual shows. And so what we had was one of our technicians. She designed this and sent it off to every single person who had to have the handkerchief.
Oh,
cool.
no. So that's how it got passed around and could
Yes.
be with everyone and be the same handkerchief.
Exactly.
Cool.
Exactly. So we all had the same one and just sent it all over. So when it was time to like push and tug, it was just an easy, seamless transition.
Nice.
But yeah, so I did also Hamlet with the Dramatic Question Theater. And they are also doing monologues based off of the characters. So they're doing a production of it actually tomorrow. that's going up, pre-recorded monologues that we did. I did 2 more of Ophelia, which I reprised my role for that. So they had playwrights come in and rework maybe different points of Ophelia's journey throughout Hamlet, and pick some moments and then use that as a springboard to write a monologue. So there are moments like when she's at the river contemplating. There are moments after Hamlet has just kind of been horrible to her. And, you know, her father still wants to use her as this ploy. And this young woman is kind of left by herself and she has no one to guide her. And it's been made very clear that no one will guide her.
Way back in the day, I did Hamlet. It's the only Broadway on my resume, and Elizabeth McGovern was playing Ophelia. And we were, you know, you sit around and you read when you do Shakespeare, right? And especially when you have a budget and you're a roundabout, you sit around and read for a week before you get up. And she talked about the gaps in that character. Like there's the time, you know, you see her at one moment, Hamlet's awful to her, and then she's about to kill herself. Exactly. Like what happened? Yeah.
What is going on? And I think that's sometimes my confliction with Shakespeare itself. There are so many gaps for these female characters. So just to see how they're living through it, and a lot of the times it's very difficult things that they're living through. How do they negotiate, I guess, their humanity in a world that doesn't see them as fully fleshed out people?
Amazing. Hey, Caroline, because I know you're working on Tartuffe now, are you finding the same thing with Moliere?
Oh my gosh, yeah. It's so funny. I think, you know, when you're playing, especially some of the ingenue female roles, you realize you're standing there in the scene and you as the actor, you know, knowing where your character is at emotionally, you want to speak so badly and you don't have any lines. And so, you know, now you have to think of, you know, I was just working on a scene where the director said, well, how come she hasn't said anything? And of course, I'm like, well, if someone different had written the play, she'd be saying something right now. But so we had to think, I was like, okay, why wouldn't she speak? Okay, she's so emotionally overwhelmed in this moment. That's why. And so we kind of went from there. But Jazmyn, I would love to know, were you kind of thinking that way when it came to Amelia, of kind of filling in what was going on for her? I've always been kind of intrigued where Amelia's head is at throughout that play.
Definitely, because for both Ophelia and Amelia, they are both in positions where they have a male or a man that is telling them to kind of hush and be quiet and silencing them the entire time. So I know for Iago the entire time just talks so much mess about Amelia.
Most lines in Shakespeare.
Literally just in front of her face. And it's just like, and then even with Ophelia, like Laertes still kind of tells her, you don't really know what you're talking about. You don't really know anything. And it's like, these women don't have agency enough, especially in these kind of spaces, to say, actually, I do. But because of the times in which it was written and the social structure of it all, I've had to kind of sit back and realize that I don't really have any space to speak. So even if I wanted to say these things, who would listen? Who would hear me? Which is completely different from Jazmyn, the person who was like, oh, I'll make myself known. You'll hear me. That's not a problem at all. But for these women, it's like they've never had someone actually listen to them. So why now would they think that someone would?
Wow.
Excellent. Wow. Which leads me perfectly into today and Jazmyn. In my online course, I talk a lot about 4 hours a week and what you can do to build your own career. And one of the things is writing your own work, creating your own work. So what is Jazmyn and her, what did you say, small but mighty voice doing these days? Specifically, I'd love to hear what you're doing on your own.
On my own, I have my ukulele, so I'm always trying to plunk out songs that come to my head. I'm no songwriter. I'm gonna go ahead and say that myself, but I like to think that music is a language we all understand, and sometimes the only language we have. So where we don't have words, we can just hum something. So I'm right now just plunking out things, trying to create some emotionally built music, I suppose, through a ukulele, which is sometimes seen as like a very cheerful, like, you know, singing, ooh, you know, we're happy and it's all go lucky. But where are the moments of like somberness within a ukulele? Where are the moments of conflict? Where are the moments of like rage and anger? So just really trying to figure out how this instrument can tell a story in ways that I maybe not have thought of before. And also outside of that, I started doing some more teaching. So that's been interesting, crafting like warm-ups and curriculum sort of thing in order to help younger artists, even though I'm still like a young artist myself. How do I see within them the things that maybe the lessons I learned could be helpful? Just trying to figure out how I can lend myself to be of service to someone else. So yeah.
Cool. And I'm not looking, I don't want you to diss anyone here. This is not my plan, right? But to the new school, I went to Carnegie Mellon, right? Way back when. And there was little to no training in film and TV, even though that's what you were supposed to do. You're supposed to graduate and go get on a television show. Caroline, I taught audition technique at NYU, and it was one of the few classes that was about that. Did the new school prepare you, and specifically to be in film and TV, where the truth is, especially with COVID, obviously, but the truth of the business is 70 to 80% of your salaries are going to be made in film and TV, unless you're a musical theater Broadway actor and can keep getting those jobs, like Michael McElroy, my friend.
Yeah.
Like, unless you can be that guy, you're going to make 70% of your money in film and TV. So, long way of me asking.
I definitely think they prepared us for it. I know at least for my class, we transitioned over into film and on-camera work our third year. So it was basically just all the work you had learned for theater, now compress it a little bit so it fits on this screen. Really like just, and so we had William Cusack, who was helping us create our short films. So he helped us in front and behind the camera, which was very important. I'm also like a cinematographer, so learning about those things for me was very important. Also, we had Sanjit De Silva, who was our on-camera auditioning kind of professor. So he helped us with that, and he was drilling us all the time about, you know, all the work you have to do, like in theater for your character work. Do it on this screen, but also make it very intentional and very specific, because the camera will pick up everything. So you don't have to
do it all before you walk in the room alone.
Exactly.
Yeah, like do it all by yourself.
You have to create all these circumstances by yourself, which is similar to theater, very similar, but there's a different feeling about when you walk into a room for theater auditions than it is on camera. Like the moment that camera looks at you and you're like, this is all I have. I don't really have, the reader can be anybody. They could just literally just say, and I went to the store. Where did you go? Like they could give you nothing. So you have to ramp yourself up and, you know, make yourself malleable and professional. But yeah, I think they prepared us pretty well. And, you know, my classmates and I, we have our issues with higher education and institutions, but dear goodness, we always say the new school did something right. Ugh, again, they did it right.
Jazmyn, I know you're really, you know, you just graduated a little while ago, and COVID has changed the whole landscape. But again, I just want to contrast with what some other people go through. Have you found that there are enough roles and interesting enough roles for a young Black woman at this point for you?
Oh, that is interesting enough. Not really. I'm also unrepresented. So it's a little bit more of a challenge to find like the meatier things. Because normally for me, you know, you go on like Actors Access or Backstage, and you see like sometimes just like student films that are, oh, you know, Susie and Karen are arguing about something in a park. And I'm like, okay. Or you see something that, you know, describes like the Black castmate as sassy. And I'm like, can you tell me more about her, please? please, like, tell me what kind of music she likes, something. But it's been a little bit limiting. There are more things that are popping up now as, you know, the world opens up more, that I'm finding to be a little bit meatier and something I can grasp onto. But for the most part, it was just, you kind of get what you get and you don't throw a fit. If I could find it slightly intriguing enough to say, I can sit here for like, I don't know, 4 hours on Zoom rehearsing it, then yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do it. But if not, I was like, ugh, let's not do it if we don't love it.
Cool. Interesting. I'm going to check back in with you in 2 years and see how it's, to see how it's changed. Like, and please, like, take my free mini course, which is how to find an agent, the right agent for you. Just take a look at it. It's very free. Because getting representation helps a lot in getting to that next level. Like, there's no other way around it, right? You get the gig and then you get the agent, or you get the agent and then you get the gig. But
either way, you need it.
They both do have to go together at some point.
Yeah.
Cool. Caroline, any questions from you?
Well, I've got a bunch. So I guess piggybacking off of that, have you been getting your commercial work on your own without an agent?
Yes, I've been getting all of that independently, and just kind of, you know, staying attached to my phone, unfortunately, you know, to the chagrin of anyone I'm at dinner or brunch with. But just staying engaged with that, trying to showcase my personality in, you know, under 60 characters or however many we get, so that, you know, we can get the self-tape, we can have a little moment of connection so that we can go further into it. So yeah.
It feels nice, right? Isn't it kind of empowering? Before I had a commercial agent, I was getting it on my own, and you're like, okay, like, not everything is closed off to me. It's kind of a nice feeling.
It really is, especially when you connect with a casting director. And I'm like, okay, we have something here. Perfect. So like Erica Jensen, who was, she taught at the new school.
And has been a casting director for a while.
A long time.
Yeah.
And she like called me in or asked me to do something. And I'm like, that's based solely on a relationship. That like, I'm also, not just because she taught there, I'm also very mindful of, hey, how are you doing? Making sure that I keep that connection strong. So it just, it feels really good to know that I can do this stuff on my own, based solely on my own, like, hustle, grind, and charisma. So when management does come in, I'm like, hey, here's what I can do by myself. What are you doing to add to me? Because it's not me being like dependent on you now. It's like, you know what I can do. What can you help me with? It's like, I treat like any industry professional I've met like a friend. I'm like, oh, I haven't reached out to them in a minute. I wonder how they're doing. Oh, how's your daughter? Oh, how's that dog? Oh, you know what? I was actually playing this song that you talked about the other day. Blah, blah, blah. It's literally just simple as that. And if they don't respond, that's still fine. I'll check back in maybe like a month or two later. COVID's been like crazy. So it's even more important now so than ever to like make sure that people are okay, because most people aren't. And just so that people know that like, I am actually concerned about you as a person, not concerned about what you can do for me professionally, because that doesn't matter right now. It matters that I see you as a person, as my friend, and I would like to make sure you're okay.
And it's so much more enjoyable without that like ick factor of like, I'm only emailing you to get this out of you.
Exactly. And it's like, and it just brings it down to a human level, which I think a lot of the times, especially young actors, they see casting directors or directors or producers as not people, or they perceive that they don't see us as people. And I'm like, no, we're still people, so we can still talk to them as any other person does. And if they're busy and they can't respond to you, that doesn't mean that, oh, they hate me. Oh, I did something wrong. They're a whole nother person with a whole nother life. So just give grace where grace is needed, you know?
Oh, yeah, that's a good reminder.
No, my whole mantra for 2020, 2021 has been grace. So wherever you can give it to yourself, to other people, to your craft, just give yourself grace, because it's such an easy thing to do and you don't know what anybody in the world is going through. So it's just better to operate from a place of grace so that you feel lighter, and that when that person leaves from this interaction with you, they feel a little bit lighter too. So, yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
that's
that.
great. That's great.
The other
Um,
question I had is just a quick one. Can you tell me a little bit about what the MFA process was like for you, just in terms of why did you want to get it? Where else did you apply? The audition process, any of that?
Absolutely. So trying to make this a shorter story, I went to Japan to teach English. I came back and I was like, okay, I'm going to go to grad school to be a diplomat.
Wow.
Didn't
so
work
that's
out.
what you let. Wait. So with the back. Wait. You left Spelman, and then you thought I'm going to be a diplomat. Hence, I'm going to go get some foreign experience.
So actually, I was an international studies major. So I've done theater since I was young, but I was definitely the kid who was like, practicality, come on, like that's in acting, it's not gonna make money. But my parents were like, be an actor, be an actor, be an actor. But I was like, whoa, you guys.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's insane. Love them to death, but I was like, finances, no. I don't want to do this. I don't want to struggle. So I went to school for international studies. Said I was going to go to this Japan English teaching program abroad, so I could teach English. Did that for a year, and I was like, okay, I'm going to come back home, go to grad school, be a diplomat. Great. Did not like that at all. Didn't like that at all. And then I came back home, and I was like, well, what makes me happy? What brings me joy? And I auditioned for a local production of Ragtime.
Well, yeah.
Ragtime.
And I was like, okay. I got myself a coach in North Carolina, because that's actually where I'm from. I'm from North Carolina originally.
Oh. Okay.
But I also call Atlanta home because I spent so much time there. And so I got a coach, and she was like, so what do you want to do with this? I was like, I think I need education. I think I do. So I applied to a couple programs, did not get in. Went to the IRDAs, did not get anybody, nobody wanted to see me. I went back to my hotel room. My father was there with me, cried for maybe like 15 minutes, got up, said, somebody's going to see me. Somebody's going to see me. Went, got my headshot resume, and I was just like running around. I was like, are you taking auditions? Are you taking, just like, here's my headshot, here's my resume. Went to the new school, got there. I said, I would love an audition with you all. They said, okay, we can only do it at the last minute. I was like, fine. Waited 2 hours to be seen. Peter J. Fernandez and Catherine Rossiter were sitting there, bawled my eyes out, explained to them how much I wanted to be an actor. Got in. I said, okay, this is it. So the MFA program was very collaborative. And that's one of the things that really appealed to me about it, was because I knew I needed like a village to help me learn. I knew I needed the community experience. I knew I could not do it on my own because I had not gotten this far on my own anyway. So why would I think now I could be independent? No. So it was collaborative. We had 15 actors, 3 playwrights, 3 directors. We all worked together multiple times. So I know their work as writers very well, very specifically, and I know the directors very specifically. So the ability to listen in to what the subtext of their conversations are or their direction made me more in tune to actually hearing other directors. So I'm like, actually, let me listen to the pattern of speech in which you're talking to me so that I can actually hone in to that. So I can give you what you're asking of me. So it's not a moment of like, well, what are you really saying? If I just stop and listen for a moment, I can really understand them. So the MFA program was, first year was mostly, breaking us open, breaking down old habits, things like that. Second year was Shakespeare and the classics, which, as a Black woman, I thought, I don't even see myself there, so why do that? Luckily, we had Scott Whitehurst and Peter J. Fernandez who were heading those moments for us, so it was even better to be led by Black men. So I was like, oh, I could do this. Third year was getting us ready to go out into the world and film. Didn't know we were going to go out into the world and, COVID, but it's okay. We were prepared because we were already resilient enough to know that this is a community. So if I can just hold fast to the community that I have, I know I'll get through it. And that's pretty much what I did. And I'm so grateful for it. Even though I had like a couple bumps along the way, just as, a young artist, trying to be a young Black artist specifically, trying to figure out their space in a very white-centered institution of theater. It was difficult, but I'm glad that I had a village of people that I knew I could hold on to, and knew that they felt the same way about theater that I did.
Beautiful.
That's a great story. Wow, that
That's
really
a great
like it all
story,
happened the way
and-
it was supposed to. Wow.
Yeah, it is. It is. And a perfect ending for us. So like I said, Jazmyn, we're going to check back in. Please stay in touch. Well, 2 years. Yeah. But give it, we can talk before then too.
Absolutely.
Please stay in touch and let us know how everything goes. And we will look forward to seeing more of Jazmyn Boone, small but mighty.
Woo!
Love that.
You know?